There's a particular kind of silence in the workshop when a small city car rolls in on the back of a tow truck and the owner steps out holding nothing. No spare key, no damaged remote, no broken blade, just an empty keyring and a worried look. And when that car happens to be a Toyota Aygo, a Citroën C1, or a Peugeot 107 or 108 built between 2014 and 2020, you already know this isn't going to be a simple plug-in and program job. These cars may look simple on the outside, but when every key is gone, the Immobilizer strategy changes the entire approach. Today on Baabji Motors, we're breaking down exactly how to handle an all-keys-lost situation on this joint venture trio, the right way, the efficient way, and a way that saves you from unnecessary mistakes. As always, this discussion is strictly for educational and informational purposes, meant for professional technicians, learners, and automotive locksmiths working within legal guidelines. Always follow manufacturer procedures and local laws before performing Immobilizer or key programming work. Here's the big question I want you thinking about as we move through this. When you're facing an all-keys-lost scenario on one of these vehicles, is it smarter to go fully invasive and open the Immobilizer module, or is there a safer, faster route that avoids cracking open the hardware entirely? Stay with me until the end, because the answer depends on one small but critical detail most technicians overlook. First, let's understand what we're dealing with. The Toyota Aygo, Citroën C1, and Peugeot 107 and 108 share the same platform architecture in these model years. The Immobilizer system is not integrated in a way that allows simple OBD programming when all keys are lost. Unlike add-a-key jobs, where you still have a working transponder to authenticate, an all-keys-lost situation forces you to retrieve Immobilizer data directly. On right-hand drive models, the Immobilizer module is positioned behind the instrument cluster, integrated with a dashboard structure. Access is not as simple as removing a lower trim panel. The upper portion of the dashboard must be removed to reach the Immobilizer unit. Behind the clocks, you'll find a plastic cover plate. Once that's carefully lifted and pressed down, you can access the Immobilizer box itself. This is the point where many technicians underestimate the labor involved. Removing the dash top cleanly without damaging clips or trim requires patience and proper trim tools. Now let's talk about the two main programming paths. Method number one avoids disassembling the Immobilizer circuit board, and this is often a more time-efficient route if you have the right tools. After gaining physical access to the Immobilizer unit, you remove it from the vehicle. Instead of opening the casing and directly accessing the EEPROM chip, you can read the Immobilizer data using a compatible interface tool, such as an Autel G-Box paired with supported programming equipment. Once you retrieve the Immobilizer data, you simulate a master key file. This allows you to generate a valid transponder file for programming. From there, a device like the Autel KM100 can be used to learn the newly generated key into the vehicle. This approach saves time because you avoid desoldering or directly reading the EEPROM chip. No board-level work means less risk of damaging traces or corrupting memory. For many workshops, this is a preferred route because it balances speed and safety. But what if you choose or need to go deeper? Method number two involves opening the Immobilizer unit and reading the EEPROM directly. After removing the module, you carefully open the casing and identify the EEPROM chip. Using a programmer such as VVDI Prog or a similar EEPROM reader, you extract the data file. That file can then be loaded into key programming software like Tango. Inside Tango, you select the correct model profile under Toyota Aygo, Peugeot 108, 107, or Citroën C1. From the EEPROM data, the software calculates the key file needed for a valid transponder. You then write that file onto a compatible chip. And this is where a lot of confusion happens. These vehicles use a Texas Instruments 4D70 transponder type. Not all aftermarket chips will work reliably in this Immobilizer system. The Zorse XT27, a super chip, even when generated as a 4D70 profile, does not function correctly in the specific Immobilizer box. VVDI 2 generation attempts have also proven unreliable for direct programming in this application. What works consistently is an original 4D70 transponder. That means either using a genuine chip or a donor key source from a salvage vehicle. You generate the correct data in Tango, write it to an original 4D70 chip, and that key will start the vehicle once the Immobilizer recognizes it. Here's a practical workshop strategy that many experienced technicians use. You obtain an original Aygo, C1, or 108 key from a junkyard vehicle. Program it using the EEPROM data through Tango so it becomes a valid master for the car you're repairing. Once you confirm the vehicle starts, you can then clone that working key onto an XT27 chip for customer use. This allows you to keep the original program key as a backup template for future jobs. That small step can save hours later. Before you even get to transponder programming, though, don't forget the mechanical side. These models use the Toy 48 keyway. You can decode the lock using a leasure tool or disassemble the door lock to read the wafers directly. Accurate mechanical cutting ensures you're not troubleshooting an immobilizer issue that's actually a poorly cut blade. So back to the question we asked earlier. Which method is smarter? If you have stable equipment capable of reading the immobilizer without cracking open a module, method 1 is generally faster and carries less physical risk. However, if your tooling is limited or you prefer full data control, direct EEPROM reading with method 2 offers precision and flexibility, especially when dealing with transponder compatibility issues. Personally, I lean toward EEPROM reading for full verification. It gives you a raw backup file, which means if something goes wrong, you can always restore the original data. But I understand why many busy workshops prefer the quicker simulation approach. I'd love to know which side you're on. Do you prioritize speed, or do you prioritize complete data control? Drop your experience in the comments. Here's a small tip that doesn't get talked about enough. When reinstalling the dashboard top, always double-check that no wiring harnesses are pinched near the cluster area. A trapped harness can trigger intermittent electrical faults that look unrelated to immobilizer work, and that can lead to unnecessary comebacks. At Baabji Motors, the goal is always to blend practical hands-on experience with technical accuracy. Jobs like these are a reminder that even small city cars can demand high-level skill when security systems are involved. If this breakdown helped clarify the process, let's aim for 1,000 likes on this video and at least 100 thoughtful comments sharing your experience with these models. Only a small percentage of viewers are actually subscribed, and subscribing genuinely helps the channel grow, reach number 1 in this niche, and continue producing detailed, workshop-level content like this. In-depth analysis takes real-time testing and effort behind the scenes. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions directly support that work. If you found this valuable, consider sharing it with another technician who might face this exact situation tomorrow. And if you use any of the tools discussed and they're linked in the description, those may include affiliate links where available, which help support the channel at no extra cost to you. Thanks for spending your time here. Keep sharpening your skills, keep diagnosing smarter, and I'll see you in the next one.